Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Carruthers. I'm the communications manager for MotoAmerica. I almost forgot what I was there for a second because I've had such bad luck with communications this morning. But anyways, this is our weekly podcast, Off Track. I do this every week, obviously, with Sean Bice, who's my counterpart in Ohio. Sean helps in all aspects of MotoAmerica social media and communications and website stories and all sorts of stuff. So he's my go-to guy, and he's that guy on my podcast as well. So today we have our guest is Cory Alexander. Cory raced in the Stock 1000 class last year. He rides in HVMC Racing, Kawasaki. That's his family dealership that's been around. He can talk to us in a minute about that, but as far as I know, it's been around forever. He works with his uncle, Richie Alexander, who I've known for a long time. Richie actually raced for Chaparral Racing, was a 750 Supersport champion, and he actually worked there, raced for them when my father worked for them as crew chief. So we go back quite a ways as far as the family ties go. And this year, Cory's going to be racing in the MotoAmerica Stock 1000 Championship, and he's also going to do the Superbike Championship, taking advantage of the opportunity to be able to do that. So that's going to be a cool thing for him. Last year, he didn't do all the races, but the ones he did, he certainly made count. He had 3 podiums, including a second-place finish at New Jersey Motorsports Park. When he did show up, obviously, he was a factor. He didn't win a race, but he was very close and looked like he could. I have a feeling if the season kept going a little bit longer, we would have seen him at the top. But anyway, Cory, real quick, Cory's sort of taking social distancing to the extreme because he's been at Chuckwalla Valley Raceway, which for those of you who don't know, it's basically you go to the middle of nowhere and make a left. And he's been there for I don't know how long, but we'll talk to him in a second about that. But Cory, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. Just enjoying some sunshine down here in the desert. I'm good. How about you guys, though?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, all things considered, it's obviously difficult times for everybody, and it's a little difficult for us right now because the schedule's kind of up in the air, and it doesn't. We don't know when the end is coming, and we just have to keep rescheduling things as we go forward. And we're pretty determined to have a 10-round series. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, everybody has their health, which is the main thing. How long have you been out at Chuckwalla?
So I left New York March 1st, and I did a cross country trip to get out here. And the plan was to get out here and then do some testing, and some point across the country, we started to really see that things weren't looking so good. And then by the time we got out here, everything was pretty much shut down at that point, and so really, the only option was either go home to New York, which was at the time really the beginning of the worst part of this whole thing, where exactly I'm from. And so we decided it was just better just to stay and wait it out.
So is there anybody out there, or are you just pretty isolated?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's been pretty isolated really for the most part. I mean, the track shut down to the public, so fortunately, we're pretty close with Mickey, who really runs the track and owns the track. And so they're letting us hang out, and there's been some in and out, a couple of people here and there, and a couple like smaller private events that I think they've done, but otherwise, yeah, it's been pretty much shut down for the most part, just like everything else in the country, I guess, if you will.
So do you get to ride motorcycles when you're out there, or are you really just shut down?
Um, it's I, yeah, they've had. I've gotten to ride like twice out here. I mean, I kind of have mixed opinions on it because obviously the healthcare system at the moment is pretty uh, overwhelmed, and so anything you can do to really try to help minimize that, which obviously riding a motorcycle is not necessarily a necessity right now. So kind of have to look at it from that perspective. Is like, okay, what am I really doing, or what am I accomplishing? what am I risking? So with that in mind, I am still riding a little bit of dirt bikes and that kind of stuff, but also at the same time, just want to be conscious of doing my part, I guess, if you will,
Cory, regarding the dealership back home in New York, being that it's a motorcycle dealership, but is it considered, like, I know around here a lot of car dealerships are open. You can go get your oil change or whatever. It's considered an essential service. Is the motorcycle dealership back home in is it open and is it considered essential?
Yeah, so that was, initially, obviously, it was pretty worrisome. I mean, the way it works for us back home, more or less, we're closed, not closed, but we're very slow during the winter. And then we kind of have our majority of our business from now through the end of the summer. And so, we're starting to look for our busy season at the same time this whole thing really popped up. And then you kind of wonder, okay, like, are we considered essential, so on and so forth. But ultimately, the New York the government passed kind of an amendment that allows auto repair to be considered essential, which, because we do registration and inspections and things like that, we have to be registered auto repair. So we kind of fall underneath that category because, theoretically, the primary mode of transportation would be a motorcycle potentially. Yeah, we're still open for service. The sales and parts are closed to the public in the sense of, can't have people walking in the store, but it's pretty crazy how much of our business nowadays is online anyway. So really the biggest hurdle is telling people they can't come in and actually like see the bike that they want to buy, or come in and try on a helmet or something like that. So that part's definitely tough. We've had to kind of make some adjustments. Obviously, I'm not there, so I'm just kind of working remotely and trying to help as much as I can from California.
And what do you do do you do all kinds of things at the dealership? And what do you primarily do that while you're there? I know it's your family dealership, so it probably is that you get involved in a lot of different things. What is your primary responsibility there?
Yes, I mean, I really do a little bit of everything, minus working on the bikes. That part I stay away from. I don't think anybody wants me working on their bikes, but yeah, I mean, kind of when I wasn't racing, I kind of took a hiatus from racing for a little while, and throughout that time, I mean, I did a bunch of different stuff, ranging from, I was a pickup and delivery driver for a while, and then I was helping out in the parts department, and then I kind of got shuffled over, and I wanted to be more involved in the sales process, and our salesman had left at the time, and so I kind of filled in his role for a summer. That was kind of last year. I did that in between, racing and so on. So I kind of do it all. Primarily, my focus is marketing. I mean, nobody else there does the marketing stuff except for me. And so, email newsletters and social media and updating the website and just trying to come up with new ways to sell stuff. But yeah, I've done it all.
So let's talk a little bit about the coming season. Um, we know a little bit about your program, but probably not everything. But from what you've sent us and the press releases, et cetera, it's you and Richie and a Kawasaki ZX10, and we're going to do stock 1000 and Superbike. So is that? I mean, that's a pretty big challenge you've got set for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, going into the off season, I obviously came back last year, and I really didn't have any anticipation other than, I really wanted to be in the top five, and I felt like I could be in the top five, but I obviously didn't know if that would be true or not having ridden really or raced in almost 2 years, other than some flat track. But you know, came back and I felt really better than I ever had on a bike, and I had back surgery in the meantime and some other things, and I kind of physically and mentally had kind of matured, I think, a little bit. So that helped. But yeah, I mean, going into the off season, we kind of just more or less said we wanted to do it the right way and really make an effort if we were going to do it. We didn't want to kind of tiptoe and do it and gallivant. So put together some funding and got some help from some people like Iconic Motorbikes and New Ridge Cycles, and kind of it snowballed into getting more and more support and a few different people kind of rallying around us to make it happen. As well as some other people that I haven't, we were planning to do more announcements, and then the whole thing kind of came up, and it was just, right now doesn't really seem like the best time to be doing stuff like that and putting out press releases and so on. So we're kind of on hold for some of that other stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where we end up on the other side of this whole thing in terms of that stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be a big task, but I don't think it's, it's not something we're unprepared for,
Right. Being away for so long, did you surprise yourself with those results when you came back?
I think any racer, thinks that they can win, right? You always kind of have you have to have that mindset, otherwise there's no point in racing. But yeah, I mean, I definitely surprised myself to be there right away, like we were. I mean, MotoAmerica, the first race was a little bit of an eye opener, just getting back up to those speeds again. I mean, I literally, when we showed up to MotoAmerica, I'd never even ridden the ZX10 before.
Right.
For practice, it was my first time on the bike, and I think we were top 10 right away. And the ZX10 is just super easy to ride, so that helps for sure. But coming off of my last time racing was on a Ducati, and there's so many things, and you kind of just don't really know. Was it the bike? Was it me? What were the issues? And so on. So yeah, I mean, I was definitely surprised, and obviously we lucked into the podium at Road America a little bit with some of the crashes and stuff on the last few laps. So I'm not going to say it was really all me either, and there was a pretty big gap to the front. But going forward into Pittsburgh to be battling with those guys, and then Jersey, I felt like was really kind of showing where our true potential was. Obviously we still didn't even have a bike setup that I was really super happy with, because it was only the third time riding the bike when we showed up there. So, now looking forward even more into it, having a lot more time on the bike and things like that, I'm definitely excited.
Cory, how is it going to work this year with regard to you racing in Stock 1000 and Superbike? So is it as simple as you're going to have a Stock 1000 bike and you're just going to race it in the Superbike races? Or is there anything you can do to the bike to change it between Stock 1000 and Superbike? I'm not real clear on what you can do differently if you can. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so how it works is it kind of gets promoted that we're riding in Superbike, right? But there's Super Stock Cup or Superbike Cup class that we're actually racing in. So it's kind of like a Super Stock Evo class, if you will. So we're just taking our Super Stock bike and we're racing within the Superbike class. And so, yeah, I mean, it'll be the exact same bike. I think the rules actually say that we have to run the same bike until we have, if there's some kind of major issue or we had a big crash in the super stock race, then we could switch to a backup bike. But otherwise, it's actually has to be the physical bike from the Super Stock 1000 class that we have to ride in the Superbike race.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. And how does that bike feel for you? I know you were alluded to the fact that you had ridden a Ducati in our series prior to this, and compare the two if you would. I know that your dealership sells both bikes, and I think you guys are the oldest Kawasaki dealership in the nation, aren't you? Your dealership?
Yeah, we're the oldest remaining Kawasaki dealer in the U.S. My grandfather opened up in 1966, and over the years, there's a few others that were a little bit older, but they've since gone out of business, and somehow we've survived it. And so yeah, we're the oldest remaining. But in terms of the bikes, the Ducati was a good bike. Obviously, it's got a lot of cool pieces on it and a lot of technology and things like that. At the time, the directions we went in terms of electronical setup and stuff like that were probably not the best route we could have gone. And that hurt us a lot. And we fought with a bunch of different issues and mechanicals and things like that. And whether it was, bad luck or a symptom of riding a European bike, whatever the case is, it is what it was or is what it is. But yeah, the Kawasaki is definitely a lot more of a rider's bike. It's a little bit easier to just hop on, and it's kind of closer to what I'm used to. I spent so many years riding in GSXR 600, so I'm a little more accustomed to that kind of motor configuration and characteristics. I think are pretty similar between a Suzuki and Kawasaki. So it's kind of like being back home for me, and because I got on it, I loved it. And we looked at riding a Ducati going into this off season, because for our dealership, it really helps us sell stuff. Whatever we're on, we typically can promote a little bit better, and people, it gets their attention. So we wanted to be on a Ducati, but just financially, the investment you have to make, and the parts, and there's no contingency, and there's a lot of kind of downfalls to it. As great of a bike as the V4 is now, it just, I was really, really happy with where we ended up on the ZX10, and we want to kind of build on that platform.
Tell me a little bit how you attack the coming weekends when we do start racing again. Obviously, I mean, is it race for victory in Stock 1000 and then beat the Stock 1000 guys in the Superbike race and see how many Superbike guys you can beat? Is that kind of what you go into the weekend looking for?
Yeah, I mean, more or less, my goal for this year, I want to win the championship in Super Stock 1000. That's my goal. And anything beyond that, whether in Superbike or the Superbike Cup or whomever, is kind of just an added bonus and some more track time, and kind of see where we match up. For me to ride in the Superbike class, I want to be around guys that are faster than me, because I'm going to get faster that way. And so for me, I'm using it as a learning experience, a little bit to see where I stack up against those guys. And I think, I definitely see us being, 6th to 10th place pretty consistently. I think in Superbike would be pretty fair. If it rains, who knows what'll happen? Maybe we'll get a little higher up there. But
right.
But yeah, that's my focus is winning the championship in Super Stock. And obviously, I mentioned contingency. Financially speaking, for me to make sense of doing this whole thing, I've got to make some money, and that's kind of where the easiest way to make some money is obviously winning Super Stock. So that's my main focus point for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say regarding the purse, boy, for the number of races you did last year, your start to purse ratio was pretty good, I'd say. Did you make? I think you made money. Well, you made pretty decent money every race you competed in for us last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, Kawasaki makes it really, really easy, to do that. Obviously, just the cost of racing in general is so expensive, but to have a manufacturer that at least rewards you if you do well, helps a lot. And so yeah, we did pretty well. And that was really the only reason I was able to continue last year. I mean, if not for that, I don't think we would have been able to make it all around. I was definitely kind of rolling my winnings into the next one and the next one. So definitely lucky in that regard, and I didn't have any crashes or anything like that. So that obviously is super helpful.
Looking back at last year, obviously New Jersey was the highlight for you. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to I mean, you battled for the lead the entire time. You came up just short at the end, right?
I got an awful start. There was a restart, and I got a terrible start. So I don't know where I came back from, like 10th or something. But yeah, by the time I made it up to Andrew, who had a pretty good gap, I think there was like 1 or 2 laps left, and I just didn't plan out far enough ahead to make a move on him where I wanted to. So, but yeah, that was it was close. I think if we had gotten the start, we should have gotten it. I think we could have won it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. It was 1/10 of a second, and you ended up with the fastest lap of the race. So
yeah, it was good. It was good. Jersey's obviously our home track, so it was cool to put that all together. And that was a rough time. I lost my puppy like the week before that, and wasn't even really sure if I wanted to race, going into that weekend. So just to be able to kind of get through that and get some good results, I was really happy.
Cory, I've got a crazy question for you. Let me see if I can word this the right way. So, you were mentioning about being at Chuckwalla, and obviously you work with Jason Pridmore's school. And Richie, your uncle, and Jason were together on Michael Jordan Motorsports' team. So, are you able to actually explain or tell us the first time you ever met Jason Pridmore, or did you know him before you could even walk and talk? Do you remember? And what's your origin with Jason yourself personally?
I honestly don't remember. I think he stayed. I don't know. He stayed at my grandparents' house probably when I was like, I don't know, had to have been like 7 or 8 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, really before I could remember, I've known Jason, and then I started doing his schools. I took my first star school. I was on a KX85 actually at Loudon on a
Wow.
Supermoto KX85. So I don't know what year that must have been. Probably 2006. 2006, 2007, something like that, because the Rookies Cup was 2008. So yeah, must have been 2006.
That's cool. You've known him all this time. That's really good. And now you work at his school with him. And are you considered one of his instructors at those schools?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really do schools per se anymore. What we do, and he's kind of rebranded as JP43 Training is kind of his company, I guess, if you will, and it's kind of a collective of Jason, Michael Gilbert, Caroline Olson, Andrew Lee, you know James Raspooli. It kind of always an influx of different people who are in and out and kind of around, but it's more so one-on-one training. So it's like, if you contacted us and said, hey, we're looking to get better on the track, I'm looking at racing or whatever the case is, we kind of pair you accordingly with an instructor who kind of fits what you're looking to get, and then we work with you for the day. So yeah, I've been doing that. I worked at the car school as well years ago, but since then it's kind of transformed as the industry's changed and what people want has changed. So the school thing has kind of gone away, and it's gotten more of this kind of like higher and more one-on-one experience that people really seem to enjoy. We've been doing that out here. Chuckwalla primarily is kind of where we're based, but we do go all around, and I've actually kind of started to extend it into the Northeast and trying to do some more of that kind of stuff at home. And the plan was to do it actually nationwide this year, kind of following the MotoAmerica schedule and some of the events that were going on, following all the races.
You mentioned a little earlier in the conversation that you had back surgery. What was that? Just to fuse it so you didn't get over 7 feet tall?
Yeah, no, they actually they removed the fuse so they shrink me down a little bit. No, when I
That's really good.
on the Ducati, I had that whole year. I had 2 herniated discs in my back that were pretty bad, and I had got injections and did physical therapy and all these other things, and ultimately, I was just in immense pain the entire season. And going into that winter, I found a really good doctor, and more or less he said, you have 2 options. You can stop riding and hope that this kind of heals itself a little bit, and you'll have quality of life, or you got to do back surgery. And so I had a disectomy and a vasectomy, so they removed some of the bulging disc and then cleaned up the facets are kind of the pieces in between your vertebrae. So they cleaned that up and did that. But yeah, that was the end of 2016.
Wow.
That I got that surgery, and yeah.
Cory, for a minute there, I actually thought you said vasectomy.
I did too.
No,
I did too. I'm like,
vasectomy. Yeah. Haven't got that done yet.
Okay, so
might not be
because you got good racing genes. We want to have more Alexanders out there to race in our series.
Yeah. I'm the last one. So I've got to take care of that sooner or later.
Hey, I want to ask you. So since this is Throwback Thursday, I want to talk about 2013 a little bit when you were. So for people that remember or maybe don't know, during that era, Supersport was considered to be different than it is now. It was more of what our Super Stock 600 series was a couple of years ago. It was more of an entry level, and it was also broken into East and West. And you were in the East, I believe, championship. And I'll never forget this. The last race of the season or last race weekend, we were at New Jersey, and I believe you won that championship based on that win that you got in the last race. And I just remember it was so crazy watching you. You were back and forth with Hayden Gillum, and it seemed like every time you went across start finish, you were you were in the lead, and then he would somehow catch you maybe in the corners or something. But you would always end up. And I was thinking, oh, he's going to win this race because every time he goes across start finish, he's ahead. So can you talk about that weekend and how you won that championship like that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my memory is not the best. I don't remember exact, other than I know it came down to 1 point, and I've always been really good at the last turn in Jersey. So um, that was a lot of the reason why I was able to actually. I think I won the championship based off of that, just because I think it ultimately came down to me and Stefano. I had to get. I don't remember what the numbers were, how it worked out, but I had to beat Stefano, and it came down to like the line or something like that, and I ended up getting Hayden by 1 point for the championship. But it was one of those things where it was like, you cross the finish line and you're not even sure because you haven't been able to do the math quick enough to figure out if you won the championship or not. It was super close.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you, Cory, is that so this morning I had seen on Facebook that James Morris, our technical director, he's in Buffalo, and I got to find out what that's all about. Maybe Paul knows why, but of course, when I hear Buffalo, I think of Dunlop. But the photo that he posted, there's actually snow on the ground, and I know Carmel is north of the city a little bit, and it's certainly way over on the other side of the state, and it's not anywhere near the lake area where you get a lot of lake effect snow from coming off the lake, but it looked pretty darn cold there with the snow. So you're going back home. I assume there it's still not. Is it cold back home? Is it still? There's no snow, is there, for you?
I think it snowed like 3 weeks ago, but yeah, it's probably warming up now. I think it's in the high 40s, low 50s, or something like that. If not a little bit warmer. I honestly haven't looked at the weather because it's been 75 and sunny out here every day at the track. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I'm going home to.
I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw it because I grew up north of Syracuse, where probably there's still snow on the ground, and I know Western New York's different than kind of New York City. That's just got its own climate a little bit compared to the other part of the state. But I'm thinking here, you're in Chuckwalla, and it's like I know you got to get home to help out at the dealership, but maybe not so fast. Spring's taking a
Yeah,
little while to get there. So
yeah. No, I've been putting it off for a while. Just obviously, like I said, where we're from is one of the worst areas in the whole country, or whole world, I guess, at the very moment. Um,
for that, that's scary. Yeah.
yeah, for the virus. So I've definitely been putting it off for obviously more than one reason. But yeah, it's been tough. I've been kind of having like an internal battle because my family's there and they're kind of having to brave through it. Going to work still every day to keep the shop open and keep all of our employees, working and stuff like that. So, while I'm sitting out here in the desert and kind of my own little bubble with, no idea that anything's going on in the outside world because I don't have to leave, except for about once a week to go to groceries. So it's been nice, but also, definitely kind of thinking of everyone back home. So yeah, I think it's about time to get back, unfortunately.
It's so funny how, well, it's not funny, but it's so odd how everything is right now. Like Sean just tells me that James Morse is in Buffalo, and since we've all been working at home, um, in the office, he's probably 8 feet away from me, and I had no idea that right now that he's in
Yeah.
Buffalo. So, and then you're 2 hours away in the desert, and it's pouring rain here, and well, you're in the desert and it's sunny. So, and then I've got a guy in Ohio telling me that the guy 9 feet away from me is in Buffalo. So it's just kind of shows how messed up stuff is. But Cory, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I wish you safe travels heading back to the family and the family business. It's probably a good thing you're headed back there. They can probably use the help, and they probably know you're just slacking off in the desert, having a good time, and it's probably aggravating them. So it'll be good to get you back home. But
Yeah, I think that's a little
give your family my best, and we look forward to seeing you as soon as we can get going here with some motorcycle racing. And Sean, same to you. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks,
And
Paul. Yeah.
it's been cool to have Cory on here. It's funny because I was just thinking the other day, it's like, who haven't we have on there? And then I'm like, I must have seen something on social media or something. I'm like, oh, we can have Cory. He hasn't been on yet. So thanks for joining us, and just everybody stay safe.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.